welcome to this Bend and Blaze breakdown of Lotus pose. Lotus can be pretty intense in our knees, can be pretty intense in our hips, pretty intense in our ankles and the fronts of our feet. So, feet. Make sure you're plenty warmed up in your hips and in your inner thighs. Lots of mobility, stuff like this in our hips before you start to come into your Lotus. And know, please know that full Lotus may not be accessible just yet. So you can stop at half Lotus. There's kind of a 3/4 Lotus. There's a lot of ways that you can modify and hold until your body is ready to move on to the next step. If you're starting from a staff pose, step number 1 is to close the knee. So keep this closed. That space behind your leg, it is sandwiched together the whole time. Once you have the knee closed, then open the hip. So you'll start to open your left knee out to your side, keeping the knee joint closed, but the hip opened. So just assess the situation from here. Maybe this knee is lifted up in space. If that's the case, if it's uncomfortable, just support it. Draw a block or a rolled up towel, or even just like hold on to it with your hand if you're not working with any props today. If you feel like that leg is kind of laying out flat and you're not feeling overstretched here in the inner thigh, then the next step is to scoop up the foot. So you're lifting your foot right where it was, just up off the mat. See if you have enough space to kind of clear that top of your right thigh. From here, a really important step to keep your knee closed and give yourself the space you need in your hip is to lift, open it up to the side, and then draw it up and over. So that motion is up, out to the side, and then in. You're pulling it up, opening it, and then dropping the foot to the top of the right thigh. The knife edge of your foot comes to your hip crease, and then this is your half Lotus. This is another really great place to hang out. You can bring a block underneath that knee if you want to. You can bend in through your bottom leg and just hang out here. But keep the space between your knee and your mat available for you to sink into. So if you're here, you're not really challenging that knee to open up at all. So maybe push that right knee or the right foot kind of in front so you have the space to fall into as that hip starts to open. If you want to bring it into your full Lotus, we will pick up this foot, point it, and you're doing the same motion, it's just a much more restricted, so you may not see it, you should still feel it. So you're picking the foot up, you're opening it up to the side as you loop it back toward your navel. So pick it up, open it up to the side as I drop back into my navel. I don't know if you can see it, but you should definitely feel it in your body as you draw that hip open before you come into your full Lotus, keeping the knee as closed as you can. So I'm here, I'm keeping this knee closed, I'm lifting it up, pulling it out to the side, and then drawing it into my navel. Knife edge of your foot comes to your hip crease. To exit out of this pose, you will lift the foot back up, open the hip, and drop it back down. So you want to keep the knee as closed as you can possibly keep it as you exit. Same thing over here, pick it up, open it out to the side so you can close the hip, and then open the knee. Another option is to try it supine. So you'll come into your legs up the wall and then close the knee, open up the hip to the side, point the foot, draw the knife edge of your foot to your hip crease. And again, point the foot, you'll pick it up, the knee is closed, open the hip to the side, and then draw it over. You can stay on your back, you can bring the backs of your legs up to a wall, or from your supine, you can come up to your seat. Listen to your body. If you feel this the most in the tops of your feet and your ankles, Then play around with stretching those out, maybe in a hero's pose or an up dog variation. If you feel your knees talking to you, make sure that your approach when you're coming in and out of the pose allows you to navigate your hip before you navigate your knees. So keep your knees closed while you're moving that hip around so you're not twisting at the knee joint at all. And then of course, if you feel your hips talking to you the loudest, you want to really work into those bound angle poses, your fire log pose, your pigeon, figure four, some runner's lunges. Really let your hips be open and mobile before you start to come into your lotus pose. So that's our lotus. Thanks for watching. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you on the mat.